You're listening to the Kobo Writing Life podcast, where we bring you insights and inspiration for growing your self-publishing business. I'm your host, Stephanie McGrath, and the Publisher Operations Specialist here at Kobo Writing Life.
And I'm Marina Ferreira, Publisher Operations Coordinator at KWL.
So this episode, we talked to Autumn Jones-Lake. She is a US Today bestselling author of the Lost Kings Motorcycle Club series, and she talked to us a bit about the misconceptions associated with motorcycle romance and how she subverts them in her own work.
We also got to hear a little bit from Autumn about how the experience of writing long series is like. Her current series actually has 15 books and going. And we also hear a little bit from her about the challenges associated with marketing such a long series.
And it was kind of interesting because she told us that she doesn't actually plot out her books. So she kind of flies by the seat of a few pants, if you will, and continues to do so for every book in her 15-book series, which is pretty incredible.
It's impressive, yeah.
So please keep listening. Thank you, Autumn, for joining us on the podcast today.
Sure.
Can you tell our listeners a bit about yourself just so we can get started a bit? A brief intro.
I write the Lost Kings MC series, and I was an attorney before that.
Mm-hmm.
I like this job a lot better.
I bet.
I don't know. There's not a lot of exciting stuff to say about myself, I guess.
Where are you from?
Upstate New York. That's actually where my series is set, too.
Awesome. Does that help when you're writing the series to really know the area? I feel like that would make things much easier for me.
Yeah, I think so. I fictionalize it a little bit, but I will throw in stuff that like people will recognize if they live in the area too.
Mm-hmm. That's one of my favorite things when I'm reading a book and I know exactly what place and what they're talking about. I love that. I feel like I'm part of the in group.
So I'd just like to hear more about your publishing career. So were you always an indie author, or did you decide to go the indie route?
I started out with a small digital publisher. I originally was like traditional focused. That's where I was planning to be. And I had joined like our local chapter of Romance Writers of America, and I was getting more information and submitting stuff to like publishers and stuff like that, and getting a lot of rejection letters and everything. I had my first paranormal romance series was picked up by a small press.
Mm-hmm.
And then they went out of business, I think. And I was still like pursuing like the smaller, like just small digital publishers really and other stuff. And I don't know. I had this idea for this book, for Slow Burn, the first one. I knew it wouldn't be something that a publisher would want to publish. So I just said, well, I'm going to try and do that on my own then maybe. Because I just couldn't get it out of my head. And I was working really hard on it. And I'm just going to give it the best chance I can give it. And I'm going to do it myself. And then it just kind of spiraled from there. I was like, well, I actually really love doing this and having all this control. And I don't want to give control to somebody else.
Definitely. So why didn't you think a publisher would pick it up? Was it because of the plot? Because I was reading a synopsis of it, and it's not a traditional romance. Is that what made you decide to go indie with it?
Exactly.
So for any listeners who doesn't know, can you tell us a bit about the plot of the first book?
The heroine's married when they meet.
Scandalous.
So
yeah. Motorcycle club romances are really cool for that because they tend to break a lot of traditional rules.
Mm-hmm.
I still knew that was like one that just like probably wouldn't, shouldn't be crossed because people see that and immediately think cheating, and there is no cheating, but people think that. So I just knew a publisher wouldn't like that. So I didn't even bother.
So your Lost Kings MC series is currently at 15 books. And you were just telling us earlier that you've been writing this series for 5 years. So did you plan to write a series this long, or did it just happen naturally?
It just happened naturally. 15 comes out next month. And I think originally I thought I'd write, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 books. I pants everything. I don't outline, but I had drawn like an overall like sketch of what I wanted to do for the series, like for each book, for each, character. And then it just sort of like snowballed from there.
I guess readers loved it.
Yeah. Were the characters always in the background in the story? Or is that something that you eventually, like you started adding more people, like side characters to make it into
the 15-book series?
Couples? Yeah.
The main ones were there from the beginning, and then I think I just added them as, necessary. Main ones have been there pretty much from the first book almost.
That's pretty cool.
Do you have any tips for planning an outline for a series? Like how do you make sure to include people that you think may later be more important later on? Or
Oh yeah, and you have to keep track of all the details from all the books.
I'm like, do you have a murder wall?
Honestly, no. Like I said, I don't plan things really well. I'm trying to get a better handle on that. Some of them just happened. Like I said, I only plan to do a couple And then my focus was the president of the club. That's the first 3 books is him.
Mm-hmm.
And my beta readers and my readers, like, they really loved, like, the enforcer for the club. And I was like, why? Like, he's such a jerk. But they loved him. They really wanted his story. So I kept thinking, I'm like, why is he such a jerk then? And then it got me snowballed from there. And there's a best friend's little sister, kind of love triangle. And I had people that were writing to me and they're like, oh my God, she has to end up with Murphy. She has to end up with Murphy. And I was like, really?
Who did she end up with?
Other one.
I mean, I guess the reader opinions kind of help pick the next couple. Is that how you pick a next couple, or or is it just what you're like, this is what I want to write today?
Yes and no. Like, there were questions and that kind of sparked my interest. And then I decided, then I knew where to go. Other times, like, I've kept the heroine a secret. For books 8 and 9, I think that was like a big secret. No one knew who he was going to end up with. And I was like very squirrely about it. People would ask me like, why are you being weird about this? I'm like,
keep the mystery alive. Do you revisit then previous couples? Do you give glimpses into how they're doing now in another couple's book? Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely. And I write subsequent books for them too. Like,
nice.
Books 5 and 10 and 11 are about the first couple. So they get books again throughout the series.
That's amazing.
And actually 15 that's coming out is the wedding book for the couple from 6.
Oh. See,
we love a wedding.
Yeah. So what do you think keeps drawing you back into the world of motorcycles?
I like that it's a little bit different and you can break some rules, but MC romances, I think, can sometimes have like people hear them and they're like, oh my God, I don't want to read that, because they have a reputation of being very violent and, not always nice towards women. And mine are specifically not like that. They're really more on the romantic end.
Mm-hmm.
But mine are still outlaws, and I just kind of like writing that better.
Is that what makes them different from other romances? More, and I guess I wanted to say, not harder heroes, but like deeper issues maybe?
Yes. I have like some vigilante justice in mine.
Yep.
That's a thing. And, those books, yeah, they can be harder heroes sometimes.
Definitely.
Which I find that can make a story very exciting. So I appreciate that.
So what do you think is the best thing that you've done for your writing business?
Joining RWA was the first best thing I think I did. And then joining my local chapter, because that was just really invaluable to me. And then going to conferences. I just came back from NINC and going just to like those working conferences where writing, like craft stuff, and then business stuff was the focus, and then meeting other people in the business.
Definitely.
Yeah, I noticed a lot of authors mention the whole networking aspect, to just getting to know other authors as well and making friends, I guess, along the way.
It's hard because like I write full time now, so I'm always kind of in my own head and like, working. I work from home.
Mm-hmm.
My husband's home sometimes and I just attack him and like batter at him like all the stuff that's gone. He's like, oh my God. So it's fun to be with other writers who understand all the, crazy stuff that goes on in your head too.
Do you have a group of like author friends that you keep in touch with?
Yes, I do. I have from my local chapter, and then certain ones online, like either we write MC together, genre, we write together, or, we've met at a conference and we keep in touch, like a couple different people like that. I try to.
That's pretty cool. And do you have any tips for writers looking to get into romance, or specifically MC romance?
I definitely say work on the craft part of it.
Mm-hmm.
Really work on your writing. Joining a group like RWA, like going to meetings where you can talk to other people or just take the workshops, to improve your craft is just so huge. It's such a big help. And there's even a lot of like, they have online classes too if you don't have like a decent chapter near you.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I think it's one of the best things to do.
That's pretty cool.
Are there any good writing resources you like to check out?
Yeah, probably like for the RWA website. I know NINC has a lot of good stuff, all sorts of different. Anytime someone sends me an article, I'm usually reading different stuff. I'm trying to look, and I have a couple different books in that I use. Wired for Story is one that I've read a couple times.
Yeah.
Different stuff.
And then now shifting the focus a little bit to the business side of self-publishing. In terms of marketing, do you find that it's challenging to market a book with a series as long as yours, or have you adapted your marketing to the series? How does it work?
Yeah, I do feel like I'm not really ever sure what to do with that, because especially like now, like I said, I'm releasing 15. it really can't be read as a standalone. Like some of them in my series can be read as a standalone, so I will market them that way. This one can't be, so it's kind of like, and there's normal series drop off too, but someone's kind of like, this is exciting, this one, this is why you want to read this one. And like my really hardcore loyal fans, like they're so excited, they can't wait, and they have a lot of theories about what's going to happen and everything. So
did you read the theories?
Oh yeah.
That must be so like the coolest experience, just people plotting to trying to figure out what's going to happen in your own books.
Oh, it is, yeah. Because sometimes I'm like, oh my God, damn it, they guessed that. And I'm like, oh, sorry, that's not happening ever.
Do you ever change anything because someone guessed it?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, just let them get that win.
Yeah, and I have had people ask me, like, oh, did you do this because I said this? And I'm like,
it was written.
It was my master plan all along.
And other times I've just said, like, I have like a thread in my group or something, like, what do you think? I'm like, nobody's guessed correctly yet. No, that drives them nuts.
What's your favorite way to stay in touch with your readers? Do you use a specific social media platform or newsletter?
Mostly Facebook. I'm pretty active. I have a group there that's pretty active. I do a newsletter too, and I've been releasing a story through my newsletter, which has been a lot of fun this year.
Oh, that's
cool. Can you talk a bit more about that?
Oh, sure. It was actually something that was previously published in an anthology, and then when I got it back, I just started rewriting it, and it just like ballooned into this crazy thing, and it's somewhat connected to my series. And I wanted to publish it, but then I'm like, I was trying to grow my newsletter, so I'm like, maybe I'll just release it in episodes that way. So I've been doing that this year, and it's been a lot of fun. Like, it's grown my newsletter a little bit, and the readers, a lot of people don't want to read it until it's actually a book or until all the episodes are out.
Oh yeah, I can see
but
that. Yeah.
Then a lot of other people are really waiting for it, and sometimes I'm always consistent when I send it. So they'll kind of remind me, like, hey, it's Friday. Is there nothing? What's going on?
So you send that out every Friday?
Yeah, or every other Friday.
Gotcha.
That's been really cool. And some want to read it every week and they like that, or every other week. And sometimes they're just like, oh, I was having a really crappy day. I was so excited to see this show up. And so like, that's been really cool too.
Mm-hmm. That's really nice. That's good when you get that kind of feedback.
Are you planning to package it all together in a book when it's done?
Yes.
Finally have it all.
Yes. And I get that question like every week. Like, is this going to be a book? Is this going to be? Yes.
Amazing. This is one of our favorite parts of the episode. What have you been loving lately? Is there any books, any movies, TV shows, anything that you've been loving that you want to share?
That's so funny. My husband and I were like watching the Purge movies over the weekend, and I was like,
for listeners, we're recording this close to Halloween.
Yes.
I love horror movies and stuff. So like October, I'm always so excited. I like all the horror movies that, show up everywhere. So yeah, we were watching that. And I'm like, this is stressing me out so much, but I want to keep watching.
I haven't watched that movie yet, but like, it's always been on my plans. I don't know why I haven't done it yet.
It's stressful. Like, I feel like it's stressful.
I'm just easily scared. So
you saw Silence of the Lambs yesterday.
I saw Silence of the Lambs yesterday, and I was really scared to watch it because, I don't know, in my head it was going to be the most scary thing ever. But I think it was more of that feeling of being stressed out the entire movie.
I'm going to date myself, but I saw Silence of the Lambs in the theater, and my mom got us in to see it. My friend like talked her into taking us to it. Horror movie, so I was fine. It was a little much at that time, but I was okay. But like my friend ended up sleeping on her parents' floor for like a week after.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I can see how back when it came out, how it would have been a huge deal, like very shocking. But I think today you can see a little bit more through it. But I really enjoyed it. I'm not a scary horror movie person, but I loved it.
Yeah, it's a great movie. Like they're great characters.
Yeah. Anything else that you've been loving?
I'm like so tight to my deadline for this one book that I know.
That's fair.
No time for loving.
So like an hour at night to like actually watch something and wind down.
So you were talking earlier that you release 4 books a year. Is that what you said?
This year it's been 4. I was trying to be consistent, learn some consistency and release them on more of a schedule. But it's been anywhere from, I think 3 to 6, depending.
So do you plan your publishing schedule in like the previous year? How do you approach that?
Sure.
Yeah. Well, who are we talking to? I think I was talking to Zoe York, and she was saying, oh yeah, I have a book coming out next week and I'm not even done it yet. And I'm like, that pressure is too much for me.
Yeah.
It's always awesome. Yeah.
She's great.
I tried to. This is the first year I really made a plan and I've mostly stuck to it. I have a thing where I don't really understand how time works. So I'll think, oh, I want to release, I'll write a list, like, I want to release like all these books next year. It's like 12 books. And my husband will look at me like, and when are you planning to write those? Like, how long does it take you to write a book? I'm like, oh yeah.
Good point.
What's your writing schedule like? Do you write every day or do you take breaks?
Yeah, I try to write every day. I need to think about stuff a lot, like, in my head. I need to think on things a little bit, but I do try and like, touch the file at least or write every day. I've been trying to make sure I take like Saturdays off at least this year.
What's your favorite aspect of the entire process from, let's say, between writing, the actual business side of it, like marketing? What's the one thing that you would say is your favorite?
Probably the writing.
Mm-hmm.
Try this another time, but like the drafting and like the playing with the characters. And I really love like once I get like a bare bones, like full draft out, like going back in and fleshing it out more.
Mm-hmm.
And just like really, just like playing with characters. And like I get really excited about it. And my husband always laughs because like I'll be like reading stuff and I'll be giggling and he's like, what are they doing now?
So how long does it take to write like a skeleton draft?
Anywhere from like a month to 6 months. It really depends how involved. And I find the longer I'm going in the series, like the harder it gets.
Mm-hmm.
It's because there's so many characters now and there's so many things to at least like touch upon or catch up with. And then I have like the overall arc of the MC and the direction they're going in. So I have to go back and like reread stuff and make sure I don't forget anything.
Do you ever have readers come back and correct you on something? Like, let's say book 1, you cited this character did this, and then you forget about it. Have you ever had a reader come back to you?
No, I don't think so. I think I had someone say to me one time, like, Hope's lingerie was like green in this book, and later on it's sapphire blue. And I'm like, I don't know. She probably owns more than 2 characters.
She for sure does.
That's so funny.
And I was kind of taken aback by it. I was like, well, I'm guessing she owns more than one set. I don't know.
The one set for special occasions.
I was like, I mean, he likes them, so I think she went and bought more. I don't know.
Amazing.
I like that was the one they picked up on. They're like, no.
I think I used a name one time, and I do weird stuff like keep these like secrets and announce things like something later on happens. And I have seeded those things throughout the books, but I think there's like a throwaway character, like just a person who's someplace in book 3 and it's the name, but I use the name later on. Every now and then they come out, they're like, is that actually so-and-so's mother? The same name as this other person. And I'm like, crap, no. I'm just lazy, apparently, and didn't come up with a better name.
That's cool. They're just tuned in, really paying attention, ready for any little crumbs of information that you might leave behind.
Oh yes, we call them ninjas in our group. But one of
the
girls, she's like, "Oh, the plotting ninjas are out."
Do you use beta readers or?
I have one or two. Like I have one that I really trust a lot. Like her feedback is just amazing. So yeah.
Was she a reader, and then you kind of asked her to help you?
Yeah, we met at RT, I think, a couple years ago, and she really loved MC romances, but I don't think she had read me at the time. And she was just the coolest person. We just meshed like really well, and I'm a little introverted in that, so I don't usually connect well right away with people always. Mm-hmm. But we did, and she was just so great. And then I think she went home and she started reading, and she was like, "Oh my God, I love these books so much." And then I think we met again at a different conference, and I was really having trouble. And she kind of mentioned, I think, that she, beta read for somebody else. And I'm like, would you want to beta read for me? Mm-hmm. She writes like these beautiful reviews and stuff. And I was like, that was kind of a sign to me, like, she's probably really good at this.
Yeah.
How do I get this job?
Right?
That's what I want to
I'm going to start writing reviews, Stephanie.
I guess. Do you have any recommendations?
I trust her too, so that was, yeah.
Do you have any recommendations for long series that you love to read? Or do you even read in your genre? You might be, since you're writing in it, you might not want to read it.
That's true.
I don't usually read MC, but that's so funny you say that, because like I'm usually like I'm the kind of reader that like kind of would vex an author usually, because I don't always stick with a series and stuff.
Yeah. Oh,
that's interesting.
I was thinking like Charlene Harris's like True Blood series, the Sookie series. Like I loved those books. I waited so patiently, for them to come out, and that's a series I stuck with. Black Dagger Brotherhood I loved, and a couple of those kind of series. That
do you have any like just overall romance recommendations that you love, books that you love?
Shel Bliss's Men of Ink, Red Phoenix's, I think it's Breeze Submission series. is a good one.
Yeah, we'll link everything that you're mentioning in the blog post as well. So if readers want to check it out, they can do so.
Oh, cool.
So I guess you have the 15th book coming out, but when does that release and what's the title for any readers interested?
It's November 12th. It's White Lies. The wedding books usually they have white in the title.
Good to know.
Very good to know.
All right. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Kobo Writing Life podcast. We hope you enjoyed this episode. If you're looking for Autumn's books, you can find all of them listed on the blog post that's going to go along with this episode.
And if you're a fan of the podcast and you have a couple minutes to spare, please fill out our survey. We'd love to hear from our listeners to find out where we can improve, what you've been loving on the podcast, and any ideas or guests you'd like to see on the podcast next. Please let us know. I'll have a link to the survey in our description, so if you have some free time, please just check it out. This episode was produced by Stephanie McGrath and Marina Ferreira. This episode was edited by Kelly Robotham. Music was provided by Tearjerker, and special thanks to Autumn for being a guest on our episode. If you're ready to start your self-publishing journey today, sign up for free at kobo.com/writinglife. Until next time, happy writing!